Today we're going to review different types of phrases. When I say a phrase, I mean a group of words that acts like one word. Basically, this group of words acts like a single part of speech. They can act like an adjective, an adverb, or a noun. But they cannot stand on their own as a sentence, and they do not have a subject and a verb. The first type is prepositional phrases. They always begin with a preposition and they end with a noun. Notice in all of these prepositional phrases, they start with a preposition, the ones in red, and then they end with a noun, the words in blue. They also do not need commas. I can stack prepositional phrase after prepositional phrase. Notice here, of England, up the stairs, across the hall, to his throne. They're just like Legos. I don't need to set them off with commas. Prepositional phrases can act like an adjective or like an adverb. In this sentence, at the bus stop is a prepositional phrase, but it's functioning like an adjective. That entire phrase, at the bus stop, is giving us more information about the noun bus. In this sentence, after school is a prepositional phrase, but it's acting like an adverb. It's telling me more about swam. It's saying, when we swam? After school. Prepositional phrases can also cause subject-verb agreement confusion. Take a look at these sentences. I want you to pause this video and take some time to work through them on your notes, selecting the correct verb. Make sure you really identify your subject and don't let any prepositional phrases distract you from the correct verb tense. Once you've finished, resume the video and we will go over the answers together. Number 1, the group of girls from California has just arrived. My subject is group. Don't be distracted by the prepositional phrases of girls and from California. Instead, just look at your subject, group. The group has just arrived. Group is singular. If you have some trouble distinguishing between the group has arrived or group have arrived, it may not be so clear just to your ear, substitute a singular noun in there that's really clear, like a name. Kate. Kate has just arrived. I wouldn't say Kate have just arrived. Number 2. My prepositional phrase is at the door. I want to disregard that when I'm thinking about verb tense. My subject is boys, and that's plural. Boys are friends with Alex. And number 3, of kids is a preposition that can distract me. My subject is car. That's singular. The car was speeding around the corner. Number 4, don't let the prepositional phrase of ornaments confuse you. Your subject is box, and it's singular, so we need the singular verb. This box belongs in the attic. Next, let's talk about appositive phrases. These are noun phrases that act like adjectives. Here's an example. Robert, the new student, was late to class today. The new student is your appositive. It's a noun phrase that's acting just like one noun. And it's basically like a synonym in the sentence. It's another way of telling me who Robert is. My little sister, the biggest mouth in town, told everyone about my secret crush. The biggest mouth in town is an appositive, and it's giving you more information about the little sister. My friend, Pete, was late to class today. Notice that an appositive might just be one word and may not actually be a whole phrase. Let's have you do some practice on your notes. Please pause the video and I want you to identify the appositives by underlining them and then put commas around them. Number 1, my appositive is the street by the canal. You might have thought the appositive was just the street, but by the canal is actually a prepositional phrase that here is acting like an adjective, giving me more information about the street. So the entire appositive is the street by the canal. That entire phrase is acting like one noun that's giving me more information about Front Street. When thinking about where to put your commas, also consider that you should be able to lift out everything you put in the commas and still have a sentence that makes sense. So if I took out the street by the canal, I have Front Street is very peaceful. I could also replace the subject in this sentence with my appositive. I could have the street by the canal is very peaceful, and I'm still talking about the same place. Think of that appositive as a synonym for another noun in the sentence. They're interchangeable and replaceable. They basically mean the same thing. Number 2, your appositive is Andrew. This time it's not a whole phrase, it's just this one word. And it's giving me more information about my old friend. Number 3, your appositive is one of the nicest guys I know. That entire phrase could be taken right out of my sentence, and I would still have a sentence. One of the nicest guys I know is all information about the mayor, and those are interchangeable. Number 4, my appositive is the new student. Again, the new student is telling me more about Robert. These are interchangeable. I could switch them, I can take one out, and I haven't changed the meaning of the sentence, and I haven't started talking about anyone different. Next, we have verbals. Verbals are verbs that act like something else. Let's start with the gerund. Gerunds are verbs that are acting like nouns. An example would be playing the piano. Look at this sentence. Playing the piano is actually my subject. It's not my verb. My verb is. The action of playing the piano is being treated like a noun here. It's a thing that I like, that I think is fun. It's not the actual action. No playing is actually happening in the sentence. Just the fact that I think it is fun. So this entire phrase is basically acting like one word. Participles are verbs that act like adjectives. Thinking quickly, Carol grabbed the falling vase. My subject in this sentence is Carol. My verb is grabbed. So thinking quickly sort of seems like an extra verb thrown in there. It's actually modifying my noun, Carol, giving me more information about her. So thinking quickly is actually acting as an adjective. Notice how it's set off with that comma. That's very typical for participle phrases. Let's pause again and get a little bit of practice. On your notes, I want you to look through these sentences. I want you to underline the participle, and I also want you to set it off with a comma from the rest of the sentence. Number 1, my participle is walking. The entire participle phrase is walking along the beach. And then I need a comma. Walking along the beach, we saw hundreds of snail shells. That phrase is acting like an adjective, giving more information about my subject, which is we. My verb in this sentence is saw. That is the action. Walking along the beach. Even though walking is a verb, this whole phrase is doing something different. It's a participle phrase that is modifying my subject. Number 2, your participle phrase is sitting under the stars. The subject of my sentence is I. My verb is wondered. The action is the wondering. Sitting under the stars is not a verb in this case. It's an adjective describing I. Number 3, angered by the football score, Steve kicked the television. Angered by the football score is a participle phrase. The action in this sentence, the verb was kicked. Steve is my subject. Steve is kicking. The fact that he's angered, that whole phrase is acting like an adjective, giving me more information about Steve and his feelings. Number 4, my subject is Kevin. My verb is realized. Looking back over his shoulder is a participle phrase, giving me more information about Kevin. Notice again the comma. You'll see that there tends to be a bit of a pattern here. Oftentimes, participle phrases will start out your sentence and come right before your subject. An infinitive phrase is the to form of a verb. An infinitive phrase can act like a noun, an adjective, or an adverb. Let's take a closer look. To swim is fun. In this case, that infinitive, to swim, is acting as a noun. To swim is the thing that I like. It is a subject of my sentence. The man to see is Howard. In this case, to see is an adjective. It's modifying man, telling me which one, the one to see. He took a class to learn how to dance. In this case, to learn how to dance is telling me why he took. So it's acting like an adverb modifying the verb of the sentence. An infinitive phrase may also include an object and/or some modifiers. To smash a spider, to kick the ball past the day's goalie. Both of those are infinitive phrases. One thing to pay attention to with all these verbals is that they modify things in your sentence. And if you put a modifying phrase in the wrong place, it will modify the wrong thing. Chewing his gum energetically, a fly flew past Kevin's nose. This makes it sound like the fly is the one chewing his gum, when actually it's Kevin. We want to say a fly flew past Kevin's nose as he chewed his gum energetically. The man ran away with the long hair. Sounds like the man is running literally with some long hair in his hands, but actually we wanted to say the man with the long hair ran away. Really the trick here is your modifying phrase needs to come really close to the noun it's modifying. If it's next to some other noun in the sentence, it's going to be confusing and it's going to modify the wrong noun. So keep your modifying phrase close to the word it is modifying. Let's look at some examples here. A, broken and dusty, Clarence found an old computer in the garage. In this case, broken and dusty is modifying Clarence. He's the one who's broken and dusty. B, broken and dusty, the garage had a computer that was found by Clarence. Broken and dusty this time is closest to garage, so that's what it's modifying. C, in the garage, Clarence found an old computer that was broken and dusty. This time, broken and dusty is modifying the computer. Which one do you think the writer intended? I'm going to go with C. Let's look at these ones. A, sitting on the top shelf of the refrigerator, Desmond saw Mom's pristine birthday cake. Here I've got this great participle phrase, and it's modifying Desmond. He's the one sitting on the shelf. B, sitting on the top shelf of the refrigerator, Mom's pristine birthday cake caught Mom's eyes. In this case, my participle phrase is right next to Mom's birthday cake. C, Desmond, sitting on the top shelf of the refrigerator, saw Mom's pristine birthday cake. Again, Desmond is the one sitting on the shelf in this case. The correct answer is B. I really think they meant to say that the cake was on the shelf. So remember, keep those modifiers close to the noun they are modifying. Let's practice. I want you to pause the video and take a look at each of these sentences. I want you to underline the phrase and then label what type it is. We've gone over 5 kinds of phrases today, and I want you to be able to distinguish one from the other. Number 1, your phrase is feeding the horse. Feeding sounds like a verb, so you know you're looking at a verbal. In this case, it's the subject of my sentence. It's the thing I'm talking about, the thing that was fun. So it is a gerund phrase because it's acting as a noun. Number 2, the melancholy baker is a phrase. And it is an appositive phrase because it's a noun phrase and it's basically replacing another noun in the sentence. Mr. Sam is the same person as the melancholy baker. I can switch them, I can take one out, and I still basically have the same sentence. Number 3, this is an infinitive phrase. It starts out with this infinitive to exaggerate, but then your false is part of the entire phrase. So this case, remember infinitive phrases can act like nouns, adjectives, or adverbs. And in this case, it's acting as a noun because once again, it's the subject of my sentence. It's the thing that I think is silly. Number 4, eyeing me cautiously is a phrase. And it is a participle phrase because it's modifying the cat. Subject of the sentence was cat, the verb is crept, and then eyeing me cautiously is acting as an adjective, giving me more information about the cat. Number 5, my phrase is to keep forever. Again, we have another infinitive here. We know that to keep is not the verb of the sentence because my verb over here is gave. To keep forever is an infinitive phrase that's just acting as a modifier. Now let's mix this up into a paragraph. Pause the video and go through and find any phrases you can, making sure to label them. There could be more than one in a sentence. Okay, first sentence. My subject is the old furniture shop. And then I have a phrase here, and a positive phrase, a former stable. This is interchangeable. I've got it set off with commas here. I could switch them. I could take one out. I haven't really changed the meaning of the sentence. That appositive phrase is giving me more information about my noun. Was is my verb. And then I have a prepositional phrase at the west end and another one of Front Street, conjunction and. This is a compound verb. I've got was acting as a verb again. And then I have the adverb only modifying open. And then ending with the prepositional phrase on Saturdays. Next, I have collapsing slowly, which is a participle phrase. The shop is my subject. My verb is needed. Fixing up is a gerund. That's one of those verbals that acts like a noun. So in this case, fixing up is this thing that I want to achieve. It's being treated as a noun. It's not a verb. But, conjunction, the owner, new subject for the second half of my compound sentence. Didn't want, so my verb is did want, and not is an adverb modifying that verb. To spend the money, that is an infinitive phrase. In this case, to spend the money is behaving like a noun. It is a thing that the owner wants. Identifying all of these phrases helps us really parse out all the pieces of the sentence. Also, please notice the punctuation rules. Pauses get commas around them every time. Participles are often set off with a comma. Meanwhile, prepositional phrases and these infinitives pretty much just stack like Legos. It's very rare that you need to set them off with a comma.